So you've made up your mind. You are going to fast. There's no doubt about it. Because you've decided that you've got to do something that is going to help you metabolically. In other words, you're going to do something that's going to set you up for success in terms of your health. You have diabetes. The A1Cs have been high. The blood sugars have been high. You've had some complications. Maybe you have some numbness, some tingling, some eye issues. And you've decided that I'm going to do what I need to do to be better. And you've chosen fasting as one of those tools that you're going to use. And you're getting through the fast. Maybe you're deciding to do an 8-hour fast or a 10-hour, 12-hour, 16-hour, 18-hour, or maybe you decided to do an extended fast. But as you're getting into the fast, guess what happens? Oh yeah, those cravings start to come. And someone says something to you, you become angry, and before you knew it, you're sitting at the table, chomping down on some cookies, maybe eating a donut, drinking some juice, maybe drinking a soda, and you think to yourself, oh my goodness, what just happened? Well, you've been triggered. And there are some things that will push us off of our plan. And that's what we're talking about here in this episode. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, that's right, we are living a limitless life. We are breaking free from those boundaries, from those things that oppress us, those obstacles. We're presenting our best life, our best self, our best health, and our best plans for the future. We're not allowing anything from inside of us or outside of us to hinder us because we are on a mission. And we're on a mission to reverse diabetes. Hey, if you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and let you know that I am excited that you are here. If you have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat and put a Q in front of it so that I'll know that that is a question as we move through the comments that are there. I am talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to improve their metabolic health and set themselves up for future success. You know, as we go here in our show, there are some things that we do, and if you've been with us, great. If not, you know, we'll show you. So I've got off to my side a couple of things that we're going to take a look at here in just a minute. I've got my blood sugars, I've got my meter, and of course I've got my report, which we will take so you can see what's been going on with my blood sugar over the last little bit, right? And so we'll come and we'll talk about that. What are we doing? Why are we here? And you found yourself here. Maybe someone invited you to this space. Maybe you happened on us by accident. You were searching for something else and you were here and you're saying, what are they talking about? What are they doing here? And so let me set the backdrop for you. So diabetes is a devastating disease. Around the world, there are over 560 million people. That's right. I said over 560 million people that suffer from diabetes. And there are complications that come from having diabetes. There's the triopathy that we talk about, retinopathy, so problems with your eyes, nephropathy, problems with your kidneys, and neuropathy, problems with your nerves. Those are just the tip of the iceberg. What we often don't say is that those are the most common places that we see complications, but the entire body is actually awash in the high blood sugars. So you can have problems in any part of your body because of high blood sugars. So one of the most common things that we see is men with diabetes who have erectile dysfunction. We see dry skin, dry hair, dry nails. We see people who have polycystic ovarian syndrome. And you know polycystic ovarian syndrome is a problem with insulin resistance. And so for those patients, now they may have infertility. And so the problem that we see is one of metabolism, and the culprit is how our metabolism becomes disordered. That is the key thing in diabetes. That's the key feature in diabetes. But we don't just talk about diabetes. There are so many other areas where metabolism becomes an issue. Let's go back to around the world. So there are almost 560 plus million people who have pre-diabetes. So if we put the two groups together, the diabetics and the pre-diabetics, we're talking about on the planet right now, over 1 billion people who are suffering from this metabolic condition. We're not even including in that coronary artery disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, fatty liver, people who are at risk for cancers. All of those are metabolic diseases. And in this space, we've been working on this pathway. We have been on this journey to reverse our diabetes, limitless living. How do we set ourselves up for the maximum possibility of success? And that means that we're not allowing anything to inhibit us. We're not allowing anything to cause a problem for us. We're not allowing anything to be an obstacle. If there is an obstacle, we've got to address it. If there's something that we don't know how to do, we've got to learn about it. If there is a tool, if there is a hack, if there is a easy button, if there is a key, if there's a cheat code, Limitless Living says, I'm looking for it, I'm using it, and I'm putting it to work for me. And so one of the things that we've been doing as we have been moving through this path, we're learning all these different tools that set us up for success. And one of the most amazing tools is the tool of fasting. And so on our main show, Dwain Woode MD Live, every Monday at 7 o'clock, we're walking through the process of being successful at moving in the space of reversing diabetes. And we're learning those tools. One of the tools is the tool of fasting. And so here now on the show, on these episodes, what we're doing is we are working to improve our tools. How do you fast successfully? That's one of the things that we want to hear. And so we're working through the process of learning how to fast successfully. And so what you've come across right now is this fasting that we're doing, and we are working to be successful with the tools. Okay, so fasting, one of the most powerful tools. So I mentioned that we're going to be taking a look at some of the other things right now. And so right now you'll see on your screen, here is my, these are my glucose meters. I've got a Keto Mojo, which gives me a glucose, and it also gives me a ketones. And then I've got the Contour, which gives me blood sugar. I have on two sensors. I've got a Libre and I've got a Dexcom. And what you see right below me is the Dexcom report that we will look at here in just a minute. One of the things that I do when we come on is talk about what's going on with me as I'm moving through the fasting space. On a weekly basis, I do a 72-hour fast. And at every roughly 24 hours, we come on and we do a check-in to see where we are, how we're feeling, look at the blood sugars, look at the ketones, so that you know that this is not just theory. This is something that you can do. You can walk along with me, walk along with us in the community as we are working to improve our metabolism. During the course of these shows, I do a check-in. And the check-in is really just to help us realize where we are, how are we feeling, are there places where we need to be attentive, are there places where we need to reverse, are there places that we need to pay particular attention to, are we getting the benefits that we expect from the fasting that we've been doing. And so we take a look at that, and so I do a check-in talking about how I'm doing physically, how I'm doing mentally, and how I'm doing emotionally. These are the places where people tend to have issues. So let's hop over and let's take a look at that right now. So how am I feeling physically? And right now, let's see, 12, so 36 plus another 7, 43 hours. 43 hours into this fast. And we'll see what my blood sugars are here in just a minute. But how am I feeling physically? The thing that most people will talk about when it comes to the physical as it relates to fasting is their energy. They sometimes will say that they feel like their energy is waning. They feel like they're walking through quicksand. They feel like they are hitting a wall. I am not feeling any of that right now. You've been on the show. If not, go back and find one of those episodes where I didn't do a good job of resting or do a good job of hydrating. I've got my little cup here. And because I didn't do a good job of resting and hydrating, I felt lightheaded, sweaty, dizzy, felt as though I was woozy, my heart was having palpitations. And those are characteristics often of the fact that we have not done a good job of preparing for the fast. Okay, we talk about preparing for the fast, getting through the fast, and breaking the fast. So preparation for the fast is very important as we move into the fast. In our episode yesterday, we did a 24-hour kind of walkthrough on what to do as you move closer to the fast and then start the fast. So that would be a great episode to go back and watch. Start fasting. Start fasting well, I think is what that episode was called. Okay, so physically, I'm doing well. Mentally, I am feeling better than I did earlier this week. All right, there were a lot of things that were going on. You guys heard me say I was a little frustrated with where my blood sugars were after coming out of an illness over the last several weeks. And one of the things that we will likely do is, I shouldn't say likely, one of the things that we will do is what to do when our blood sugars are elevated because of illness, right? During fasting or even when we're managing diabetes. So mentally, I'm feeling better than I did. I am well rested, got some good sleep last night. And then emotionally, just excited, right? Because you guys know that I've got some stuff coming up here with some friends. And I'm just looking forward to that. So I am pumped. I'm pumped right now. So physically doing well, mentally feeling clear, and then emotionally just elated right now to be getting ready to hang out with some friends of mine. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at my blood sugars. What you're seeing right now, these are this is my Freestyle Libre. This is a Libre 3 Plus, I believe. And you'll see there my blood sugar is 102. Looking kind of and what I'm pointing at is right here. Okay, so right. So that squiggly white line that you see, that's my blood sugar. And the top of that green graph right there, that's 150. And the red line that you see, that's 70. Okay, and so I am, like I said, 43 hours into this week's fast. And what was frustrating to me is that usually my blood sugar at this time is much lower than that. But as I mentioned, over the last several weeks coming out of my illness, my blood sugars have been about 30, sometimes 40 points higher than they have been in the past. And so we'll see that here in a minute when I get to the Dexcom. But you'll see earlier in the day, maybe around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, because the left part of that graph is 12 midnight, and then all the way up to the right part of the graph is midnight, right? So 12 to 12. And so you'll see there earlier in the morning, probably about 9 o'clock, my blood sugar actually went above 150, which was very frustrating because I hadn't eaten anything at that point. We're talking about 24 plus 6. So we're talking about 30 hours of not eating. Okay, and anyway, so that was one of the things. And then let's go ahead and let's take a look at my Dexcom Clarity, and you'll see something similar there. This one I can actually show you the numbers. So we're talking about being right around 9 o'clock. We were at 170, 180, and as I mentioned, these numbers are about 30 to 40 points higher than I would expect them to be at this point in the fast. So if I go back at 24 hours, right, you'll see right there, right, that's that 9 a.m. that we saw. And look where it came from. So, last night when we did our show, 777, so 140s, and then look at that, right at 6 a.m. this morning, we popped up to the 180s. and then back down, back down, back down to where we are right now. Now you'll notice that there is a difference between the Libre, which is saying 103, and the Dexcom, which is right now saying 130. So even within those, there is a difference in the number. And remember, monitors are allowed to be about 20% different from each other, and that still is considered within the range. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at what my numbers are on the Keto Mojo and the Contour. Okay, so let me grab a strip out for the Contour. Go ahead and get that in right here. And then grab my handy dandy little container. So I've got strips for both. And let's go over to this one. So I've got strips. This is the ketone strip. And then this is the blood sugar strip. So let's go ahead and I'm going to open up. This is the blood sugar. Get that into the monitor. And while I do that, I am still going to go ahead and open up this guy because I don't want to have to stick myself twice. And if you've been around, you know that sometimes that happens if I don't do a good job of getting that stick well or done. And so I'm going to grab one of these lancets. And this is a twister. So let's see, let's go back here. So basically what I'm doing is I'm twisting off the top of this. And in there is that, you see the needle right there. And I'm just gonna find a finger. Now I tend to use the same finger all the time. And I do that because, get this out of the, I do that because it doesn't hurt as much, okay? I do that because it doesn't hurt as much. And so I'm gonna find a finger and then just boom, 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 and ow, 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 ow. And I'm hoping I'm getting a good, I'll get a good, flow of blood. There we are. So we get that out. Get another, and let those run. And then I'll need to keep this flow going because I need another drop for my, for the Keto Mojo. So you'll see, and even within these, there is a big difference. So the Contour says 118. The Keto Mojo says 142. The Freestyle Libre says 104. So let me go ahead and, I let this dry too long. So I think, I'm gonna have to get another poke. Okay, but that's okay. That's all right. All right, so let's do that. I'll get this out. Put this strip in. And of course I did not do this. Okay, there we go. So good flow of blood. And let's get that started. There we go. Okay. And so I'm going to, of course, tease you because I'm not going to show you what that is. So if you think you know what the ketones are going to be, go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. Okay. All right. So just we'll come back to that in a minute. So whatever platform you are on right now joining us, whether you are on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, and of course here on YouTube, we'll welcome you to the show. And I do see some of our community members out there. Let me hop over and I'm going to say hello. Let's see. Here we are. And I see Gian is out there and she's saying, hi, doctor. Hey, Gian, how are you? Glad that you're here. She says, hi, all Wood gang. Hello, Wood gang. And then, of course, I see some of you that are over there on Instagram. Thank you for coming through. I see one of my guys out there. Hey, man. I love those bow ties. Love those bow ties. So glad. Thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. So let's hop over and let's hop into our conversation. Okay. And our conversation right now is about food triggers. And you saw the flyer. And when we talk about food triggers, what we talk about is the three things, right? The heat model is what we've been using, and if you've been around, you know that is one of those pillars within our conversation, because the heat model gives us those triggers that will cause us sometimes to come off of our eating plan. Okay, the heat model says that we eat, other than for energy, we eat for 4 different reasons, 4 different groups of reasons. And they are the habits that we have, the emotions that we find, that are in us, around us, that are pushing us. We eat because of access to food, and we eat because of taste. Those are the big reasons why we eat. And so the triggers tend to fall within those spaces. And you heard my discussion. You heard my discussion as I talked at the top of the show about where we find ourselves often. That we've made the commitment, we've made the decision, we have decided that this is how we're going to roll, right? We are doing this, but often we find that there is something that pushes us. There is something that happens, and we find ourselves sitting at the table eating what we said we weren't going to eat. And so the food triggers habits, emotions, access, and taste. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. And so we're going to run through those. The crux of the conversation is this. Let me summarize it for you. It almost doesn't matter. Notice I say almost. It almost doesn't matter the decisions that you've made about what you're going to eat or what you're not going to eat. If we allow the triggers to become strong enough, to become powerful enough, if we don't have a way of managing them, if we don't have a way of circumventing them, or while we're in the pull of the trigger, if we don't have a way of dealing with it, guess what's going to happen? We are going to eat. Yeah, it's going to happen. And so Limitless Living says that when we think about food triggers, we have to be able to understand for ourselves what our triggers are, understand where they come from, and have in place mechanisms to deal with what happens when we are triggered. So habits, emotions, access, and taste. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. So habits. If you've been following on our 100-day walk to consistency, or if you've been around listening, you'll hear me talk about something called neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity says that there are these connections, these neurons that happen when we are learning things. So the neurons are always working and always changing. And there are certain things that we do that is almost automatic. There are times when I get into my car to go to work and I show up at work without even realizing, hey, wait a minute, how did I get here? I drove here. I knew, my brain knows the route that I take, and I got in the car, I started the car, and I started driving, and there I was sitting in my parking spot getting ready to walk into the office. That is a routine. That is something that's ingrained in me. I was taking my son to school one day. Yeah, I was taking my son to school one day, and I don't usually take him to school. And so we got in the car, and I got on the road, and now I'm heading supposedly to take him to school. And so he says, "Hey, Daddy, where are we going?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And then I realized I was actually on my way to work and not on the way to school because I had become accustomed to that. So there are things that we do that are just rote. They're just routine. We don't have to think about it. Something happens and we go into that pathway. The same thing happens with food. there are times when we're eating not because we're hungry, we're eating because we have gotten into the habit of doing that thing. I always often talk about movies. We go to the movies and we eat popcorn because that's what we do at the movies. On Tuesdays or Wednesdays or whenever you and your group gets together, we eat because that's what we do. And probably there are times when for some reason the group didn't meet. And at the time when you normally eat, you're like, okay, something just doesn't seem right, right? Because you were expecting to be eating at that time. Movie night at the house. We make popcorn. We maybe make some special dish that we have. People come over, right? Come over to visit. And what do? We cook. Because we've gotten into the routine of doing that. And so we eat often because of habits, because of those routines. During the day, when I'm fasting, one of the most challenging parts of my fast is when I see my team and my family eating. So during lunch, right, I'm seeing patients, and at lunchtime, everybody gets up and they go to the break room, they go down to the cafeteria, they may go out, they may buy something, they come in, and they're all around me and they're eating. And because of that, because of the routine that I've gotten into, then my stomach starts to growl or my brain starts to say, oh, I want to have that. So we eat because of habits. We eat because of those routines. We also eat because of emotions. When the emotions get strong enough, when the emotions get high enough, the emotions will push through our desire or our decision to not eat something. If we get angry enough, if you get lonely enough, if you get tired enough, if you get frustrated, bored, any of those emotions, and I didn't even list all of the emotions, anytime those emotions become so intense, then they will push through our desire to not eat something or be on a particular plan. I talk to many of our patients or clients who are on GLP-1 receptor agonists. And remember, these are the medications that everybody's talking about that have such a tremendous effect on weight. And we're seeing tremendous benefit from the medications. But there are certain people who come in and they've not lost weight. And the question that I always ask is if the medication is working, and we're going to assume that it is, right? So maybe there are some people where it doesn't work, but we're going to assume that it is. If the medication is working, why have we not lost weight? And so we begin talking through that process of what's going on. When do we eat? How do we eat? What are we eating? And you know what bubbles up to the top? What bubbles up to the top is that I'm at home by myself and I'm bored. What bubbles up to the top is that I am going through a divorce. What bubbles up to the top is that I am frustrated with my job. What bubbles up to the top is that I was in a conversation and the conversation didn't go well. My boss didn't like something I did, or something where the emotions became intense, or something where people are routinely doing things, routinely feeling sad, routinely being bored. They don't have a hobby, and they're at home sitting at the house. And what do? They eat. I shouldn't say what they do. What do? We eat. Sometimes in this very space, as I am filming, or I'm having a conversation, or I'm preparing the content, or I'm writing something, in order to keep myself awake, you know what I do? Yeah, if I'm not careful, I'll be grabbing something and pulling something, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened? We eat because of emotions. We eat because we're tired. Habits, emotions, access is another one. We eat because of access. We eat because food is just around. The stuff is just there. That's right. When it's just there, we eat. I don't bring, and I mean, check around before as I say that, I don't bring a lot of nuts in the house, like cashews, almonds, Even peanuts. I thought peanuts were safe, but they are not safe with me. I don't bring a lot of them in because if I do, they are perhaps the thing that causes me the most problems. And you wouldn't think that you can eat that many nuts, right? But I'll tell you, you can. I am proof that you can eat a lot. So let me not just blame it on the nuts. So nuts and cheese, those are my two things. So the reason for that is because I have convinced myself that they are healthier than other things that I could eat. Right? So I'm not eating sandwiches or peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'm not eating cookies or candies or chips. I'm eating things, quote unquote, that are healthier for me. So I'm eating nuts because there are those. We got the fiber in it. We've got the protein that's in it, right? There are carbs. We've got depending on the type of nuts, we've got the omega that's in them, right? And with the cheese, there's not a lot of carbs there. And so in my brain, those are healthy things. But if you eat too much of them, guess what? Same idea. And so because they're around, sometimes we eat. Think about being at your job, right? You get up to go somewhere and you walk by that coworker's desk who has the candy tray and you grab one. You're not hungry, but it's there. You get up from watching TV and you're going to the bathroom and you pass by the kitchen or pass by the pantry or pass by the table and there's that bowl of fruits or there are those cookies, there's those crackers, there's that bag of chips and you grab it simply because it's there, not because you're hungry. Because it's in our environment. Habits, emotions, access because things are just there. And then we eat because of taste. We eat because of taste. And taste happens to be one of the more challenging of the four. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. Because taste can play into a lot of the others. Often, we remember what something tasted like. We remember what it was like, how we felt when we had it. We remember the comfort and the security of our families as we were growing up when we made that thing. I was talking to someone just today, and I was telling them that whenever I see a foot-long sandwich, a sub, okay. Whenever I see a sub, I remember growing up in Brooklyn. I remember going to the corner store, and at that time we now they have the little sub rolls, the little skinny ones, right? It looks almost like a wrap. Oh no. When I say sub, I'm talking about a piece of bread. The length of the bread is like that, right? But the width of the bread is like this. And so on that thing, you lathered up some mayo and some mustard. You put the cheese on it. That's where I get my love for cheese, by the way. You put the cold cuts and you're laying those on. And you put some more cheese, some lettuce, some tomatoes. Put some more cold cuts on. And then you sprinkle a little bit of salt and pepper with some oil and vinegar on top of it. Oh, yeah, you see? Yeah. So when I see a sub, I'm not thinking about that sub. I'm thinking about the subs that I had when I was growing up, of going to the corner store, and the nostalgia that's there comes back. I think about going to my junior high school. I think about the bagels that we ate. And I don't eat a lot of bagels now. Okay? I don't eat a lot of bagels. But when I see a bagel, it reminds me, because every morning on the way to school, we'd stop and get a bagel and cream cheese. That was the thing. And so when I see that, it reminds me of hanging out with my friends, right? There's a little group of us that used to hang out. So all of those things, those memories, are built into the taste. So when I'm eating a sub or I'm eating a bagel, I'm usually not really thinking about the food that's right in front of me. Now, it tastes good, and we'll come to that in a minute, but my mind has gone back. One of the things that I do when I go to New York is I get hot dogs, a hot dog, a slice of pizza, and I get some Chinese food. And it's built into me. So I land, and you'll find me there. On the way to my mom's house, you'll find me there. Somebody picks me up, and I'll say to them, hey, can we stop off on the way? Right? And it doesn't matter what's going on at the house. My mom could have cooked. But I'm going to stop and get those things. And it took me a while to realize that I was getting those things because those were the things that my dad used to get me. And so when I'm picking up the hot dog and getting the pizza and getting the Chinese food, I'm really not thinking about those things themselves. I'm remembering Dad. I'm remembering what it was like to be there and to eat the food and to be in that space. So often when we're doing that, when we're eating, we're not chasing the food, but we're chasing the feeling that the food brings, the calm that comes over us. We're chasing the memory that we sometimes have to kind of brush away because it's so thick. And then there's the bliss point. The bliss point, that is the perfect combination of sugar, salt, and fat. Those three things. You put them together, and you put them together in such a way that people, when they eat it, they have to get more. They have to come back. They say, oh, I can't just have one of those. So when food is manufactured, the goal for the food, right? So if I have a company, the goal for my food is really not for you to just have one, right? The goal for the food is for you to have one and say, oh my goodness, I got to have another one. And not just that, I've got to tell my family and my friends that they got to come try this. And when they get it, they're not having one, they're having multiple. So I need to make the food taste as good as possible. So the texture of the food, right? The perfect crunch and the perfect consistency and the perfect combination of salt, sugar, and fat so that when it goes into the mouth, it is a euphoric experience. So habits, emotions, access, and taste. These are the things that we are fighting against when it comes to food. And most things fall into one of those four buckets. They're a habit, the routines. There's an emotion, those things that well up in us. There's access, because our environment has a lot of things. And then taste, the memories, the bliss point, the feeling that we have. And if we're not careful during fasting, if we don't come into fasting understanding that. Now, let me hasten to say here, it is not a thing that you are learning during fasting. It is something that you are working and using and enhancing during fasting. But fasting puts it front and center. Because when we're fasting, we're not eating anything in this space. We're not taking in any calories. And because we're not taking any calories, all of the emotions, the memories, the ways we had of coping when we weren't fasting come front and center. So you can't eat anymore to deal with the frustration. You can't eat anymore to deal with the boredom. The routine is there, but I can't eat. I don't just fall into that space. And so all of these things I've got to understand. I've got to begin putting things in place. What do I do when I get frustrated? How do I handle frustration? Do I have mindfulness techniques that I use? Do I have techniques to calm myself? Do I do deep breathing? Do I do yoga? Do I go for a walk? What am I doing to deal with the triggers that are coming? The triggers that will come. The ones that I understand that are my personal triggers. Now, I'll tell you, when we look at that list, right, habits, emotions, access, and taste, I used to say that EAT, right, EAT, emotions, access, and taste, those were mine. Those are my triggers. But I've got to say that all of them are my triggers. They're habits I've gotten into of eating. So I typically fast from Tuesday. I've been starting to fast earlier, Monday. So I typically fast from Tuesday to Friday. Tuesday to Friday. I've gotten into that habit. And when I break my fast on Friday, I have from Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That is my eating window. And then I start the fast over again. Okay? And so I've gotten into the habit of eating certain things to break the fast. But when I break the fast, my brain automatically goes to the other things that I have been eating in the past. So those ideas are still there. And so I have to literally deal with the fact that those habits are there, and I'm putting new things in place to divert my mind from that habit. I'm building better habits. I'm building new habits. I'm building new routines. Emotions. And you all have seen emotions here with me on the show. When we were going away last summer, and there was all the preparation that was going into that process, and I began feeling almost jittery, and realizing, oh man, the stress levels are going up, and having to go and walk to burn off some of that cortisol that was building up in me. Right? So putting things in place, understanding that those emotions are there. And then access, as I mentioned, I try not to, well, don't bring certain things in here. Because if I bring it, I'm going to eat it. I bought when you go to the big box stores, you can get like 1 million peanuts or 1 million cashews for $2. I'm just exaggerating with the cost, but you get the idea, right? You get the big thing. And I went out and I bought some cashews. Yeah, I bought one, and it was in the car. And my son said to me, either he said to me or I said to him, I can't take these in the house. And he said, oh, why? Yeah, he said, why can't you take them in the house? I said, because if I take them in the house, I'm going to eat them. And so they were in the car, and I got in the car, I'd get a handful, I eat it, and done. And come in the house, not an issue. But there are all these things around us in our environment that can push. And then the taste, the memories that come. I had to come to grips with the fact that I missed my dad. Had to come to grips with the fact that he was not there anymore. And, okay, how do I enjoy the memory of him without having to eat to create that memory or create that feeling, when I know what I was doing to create the feeling, the food, may cause an issue? Now, you're sitting there and you're thinking, wait a minute, is eating a hot dog bad? Is eating pizza bad? Is eating Chinese food bad? No. I don't eat one hot dog. Oh, did I forget to tell you that? Yeah, I don't eat one hot dog. So it's a hot dog and then another hot dog and then maybe a sausage and then the pizza and then the Chinese food. So notice, it's not. So if I go and I grab a hot dog, people say, oh, that's not a problem. But that's not how I function. That's not how we function when it comes to food. It is, I'm creating that experience, and that experience involves, right, the rituals, right? We build those rituals in. And so how do I have the experience? How do I honor my dad? How do I remember him without buffering, without turning to that buffering behavior? And that is where we need to be when it comes to the taste. Because it's going to bring back the memory. is going to remind us. It is going to calm us. When we eat chocolate, guess what? Chocolate will calm you down. You get that burst of energy. It kind of settles the cortisol level. But guess what happens when the chocolate gets dissolved and it gets absorbed? The blood sugars spike, the insulin goes up, the insulin makes you hungry, makes you crave, and then the insulin causes the blood sugars to start going down, and when it starts going down, we feel like we got to eat again to bring it up. So we get those cravings. Okay? So there's that cycle that we get into. So, number one, understanding that there are these things that can happen during fasting. Understanding what our triggers are. Is it habit? Is it emotion? Is it an access issue? Is it a taste issue? And then begin working through each of your triggers and putting things in place that will help you deal with them. Remember the COPE model? Right? Remember the COPE model? We clarify, we observe, we pause, and we execute. We pause. The pause helps us to evaluate. It helps us to say, okay, what really is going on? And start putting things in place. So if you know every time you have a conversation with that one person that you leave and you end up over at the donut place, guess what? We need to have a different way of dealing with that person. But we have somebody else with us when we have that conversation. Maybe that's a person that we got to deal with it by email. If you are finding yourself tired all the time and trying to remain awake by eating, okay, now let's look at, okay, what am I doing? Do I need to be up? And what are some other ways that I can divert myself, distract myself without eating when I'm up, if I have to be up? So this is what we're doing. We're putting things in place to help us deal with our personal triggers. Awesome, awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at my ketones. Actually, before I do the ketones, let me see. I think, yeah, let's hop back over here and say hello. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Some comments. So Gian says, she said, I always lose by trigger. so triggers are always, trigger. You're always losing to the triggers. Yeah. She said, my eating is just routine. She said, I cut out nuts. Okay. So you've found one of the things that will cause issues. Okay. She said, eating is not simple. No, it is not. Well, let me back up, Juan. I said no, but eating itself is actually pretty simple. It's the things that surround our eating that's not simple. Okay? The process of eating is a simple process. It gives our body energy, and the body knows that, and that's what we do. So when we're hungry, we will eat. But there are all these different things that we've attached to food and attached to the socialization of food, and that's where the complexity comes in. Okay, so good comment. Good comment. I like it. Just wanted to modify that a little bit. So Gian says that she thinks that my ketones are going to be 0.7, and so let's see. So 44 hours into it was 43 when we checked it. Right now it's about 40, just approaching 44 hours. And she says, here's a question. She said, Doctor, how do you have your fasting so far? Gian, ask that a little differently for me. So how are you asking how I'm feeling during my fasting? And so this goes back to the check-in that I did a little bit earlier. And let's see, where is that? So when I did the check-in, I talked about how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so for this fast, I'm actually doing pretty good in all of those three. Now, in terms of the food, right? And I think maybe now that I'm thinking about your question, maybe you're asking how long I'm fasting and about cravings. I'll be honest that during fasting, as I get past those first I was gonna say 6 to 8 hours, but I'll leave it at 6 hours. When I get past those first 6 hours, I don't have cravings. Like I don't have physical cravings. The thing that causes me the issue is the community that's around me, right? The team members that are at work. When I'm in the hospital, I may go downstairs and I see other people around me eating, or when I come home and my son and my wife are eating on my fasting days, right? So that causes some issues for me, and it's not that I'm physically. I was gonna say not physically craving. It's not that I physically feel like I need it, but my brain is saying you're missing out on. Oh, it would be so nice to sit with them and eat. Oh, I remember what that tastes like. Oh man, I think I've talked to you guys about the scarcity mentality, and we need to do a show on scarcity mentality. But my scarcity mentality says, oh man, and that's why I went through the thing of fasting for 3 days, and then I've got to eat, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, right? Because Tuesday I start over. And so in my brain is telling me sometimes during the fast, at the end of the fast, hey man, look at all the stuff that you haven't been eating. When we finish fasting, we're going to go eat that stuff. And so one of the things that I was doing is I was hoarding, I was collecting food. And my wife asked me, she said, why you collect that? And I had to really process that. I was collecting it because of that scarcity mentality. Because, this is all the stuff that I missed while I was fasting. Oh, and I'm getting ready to start a fast again. So I've got to eat as much as I can to make up or get ready for the fast. Notice what the brain had done. It had taken that thing and it had morphed it into something that was different from what I wanted, right? So that's our brain. It's an amazing tool, but it can cause some interesting processes. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at my monitor. And so you'll see there on the screen. This is my Dexcom Clarity. And my average blood sugar over the last little bit has been 153. I'm in target 74% of the time. Target being between 70 to 180. And this number really, I think, I shouldn't say I think, but remember I said that my blood sugars are on average probably about 30 to 40 points higher than they have been over the last month. And actually now a little bit over a month, and still kind of struggling to get those back to the range after being ill. And my glucose management indicator, which is a surrogate for A1C, right now is 7.0. Okay, so that number I don't like. If I look at the daily graphs, and that comes up here in just a minute. So here's where I am. This is where we are now at 43 hours. 43 hours of fasting, 44 now. And you'll see as I put my mouse over that, you'll see what the blood sugars have been running. Now, usually this is 30 to 40 points lower, right? So let's just round it up and say it's 130. So that's usually about 100. So when we're at 140, that's usually about 110. And look at this spike that happens right around 6 o'clock in the morning, right? As I'm getting ready to go to work. Look at that spike. Up to what was the highest? 187, I think 187 right there. 187. And then of course starts coming back down. Look at that. Okay? To where we are, 132. I'll take a look at my Freestyle Libre in a minute. Why is that not showing me a number? Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, so that's today. And if I go backwards, here's Wednesday. Look at that. Right, and so I guess let me come back here. So Tuesday I started fasting right around midnight. Well, no. So yes, right around midnight. Last night, this would be 24 hours. And then, of course, 48 hours would be where we are here. That's why we're 44 hours right now. And so it started fasting at midnight. And look at that. Coming into that fast, right? Look at those blood sugars. So I was eating here. And these guys are, tremendously out of range. And then here, right? So as we come down lower, 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 and then here we're finally getting into where I'm like, okay, these blood sugars have to come down, and they're dropping, coming into this morning, and they're down, and then they spike up. So this part right here was very frustrating to me because I'm like, I didn't do anything, right? All right, but you get the idea. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look. So that's what my blood sugars are. Let's take a look at my monitor and see what my ketones are doing. And that's what my blood sugar is right now according to my Freestyle Libre. Let's get my Keto Mojo up here. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. And then I'll need to get the Keto Mojo app, which is right here. And hit the sync button. Boom. And drum roll. I think Gian says that she thinks I was going to be 0.7. So let's see what it is, Gian. Drum roll, please. Da, 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 right? And my ketones are... Oh, my goodness. Gian, you look at you. You're right on the money. All right. Look at that. So blood sugar of 142 with ketones of 0.7. Okay? And when we think about ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis. And then greater than 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. And so right now I am in nutritional ketosis. When we talk about metabolism and fat burning and being in ketosis, that's where we typically want it to be above 0.5 or above. Okay, 0.5 or above. If I look at the graph, let's go back here, and here's my graph. And you'll see there the tan line, that is the blood sugar, and then the turquoise line, those are ketones. Okay. Now, an interesting thing that I guess I want to point out is ketones cannot exist at the same time with insulin. So when insulin comes out, ketones have to go away. So when the blood sugar rises, when the blood sugar goes up, insulin comes out to deal with the blood sugar, and when it does that, then the ketones begin going down. Okay. So you'll see here that as my let's take a look. Let's do this one, right? So ketones, blood sugar 138, ketones of 0.2, and then as the blood sugar is dropping, the ketones are rising. So blood sugar is 118, went from 138 to 118, dropped 20 points, and ketones went from 0.2 up to 0.4. Okay. And then this is a kind of a weird one, right? Because the blood sugar went up, but the ketones went up as well. So that's interesting. Okay. So you get the idea. So the ketones and the insulin can't exist in the same space. So we'll see, and we'll come back and do more as we continue our discussion as we go through the season of where we are, what the blood sugars are, what the ketones are. So if you are fasting, if you're out there, one of the things that I tell people, I want you to make sure that you're monitoring. Make sure you're monitoring blood sugars and monitoring ketones because that helps you know what food, what activities are doing to your body. Okay? Awesome. All right. And then let's see. Gion said... Oh, yes. So you were asking about the number of hours. Yeah, so I'm 44 hours. She said, I get it. You're fasting the 44 hours. Yes. She said, I decided as long as I can push through. Okay. I decided on fasting as long as I can push through. All right. I hope your blood get calm. So yeah, I hope so. I hope so, Gian. So so she said, wow, I got Dr. Ketone number first time. Yes, you did. You got that. I'm gonna give you another hand clap for that. Good job. Good job. I love it. Okay. All right. So remember that we are all working to reverse our diabetes. The thing that we're doing is moving ourself in a space that sets us up for the maximum possibility of success. And that's all built on our Triple E formula for success. Here on the channel, we educate. We educate with the podcast, with the blogs, with the handouts, with the show that we're on. We're educating because it's giving a change in perspective. We're giving a mindset shift. We are enhancing our concept that we can be different, a growth mindset. We can be different than we are. Understand that we have unlimited potential, right? Limitless Living says we have unlimited potential. We educate, we empower with the tools that we learn as we're moving through fasting. What is fasting doing for us? How do we use fasting? How do we put a meal together? What are the benefits of the different types of foods? Remember, balanced bites, right? We're fueling our bodies with those things that send the correct signals to each of our cells that says, hey, I'm going to be metabolically healthy. Metabolism is the place where we have disordered function. And so our goal is to right that metabolic ship. We educate, we empower, and then we encourage with the amazing community that you are part of. If you've not joined our community membership, make sure you do that. You get additional resources. There are videos that we do members only. We have our community meetup that happens once a month on the fourth Thursday of the month. We have our community support that you can log in, ask questions, and begin working with each other. Maybe you need a fasting partner. Maybe you need somebody to come alongside and help you as you're moving through that you can ask questions to. That's a great place for that, right? So we educate, we empower, and we encourage as we move through this space. Remember that you have limitless ability. We're not allowing anything to hinder us. We are presenting our best self, our best health, and our best plans for our lives. We're breaking free. We're not allowing anything from outside or anything from inside to interfere with what we're doing, to put an obstacle in our place, because we want to be metabolically healthy. We want to reverse our diabetes. I'm always happy when I'm here with you. I'm always glad that we are able to spend time together. I'm going to go ahead and drop this link, and I didn't do that earlier, into our community area. And if you're out there, just hop on. We can chat it up for a little while. Let's see. Let's just drop this into the comments. And love to see you. Love to see you over there. Any of our community members. Make sure that you're joining us for our 100-day walk to consistency. That you will see that is currently going on. We are on day number 30, by the way. Make sure that you get there. Now, our show. So tomorrow we won't have a live show. We won't have our next live show until the 10th of this month, okay? We won't have a live show until the 10th of this month, but we will have resources here available. Make sure you come on, hang out. You may see some things from me as I post around the social space. But we will have our video from the vault on Saturday at 9 p.m. Central. We will have our This Week in Review, 6 a.m. on Sunday Central, and then we'll be back on the 10th for Dwain Woode MD Live. I look forward to hanging out with you. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And we are breaking free. We are presenting our best self, our best health, our best life, and we're not allowing anything from outside or inside to hinder us. Thank you for being here. We'll see you at our next show. Have a great evening. Good night, everybody.